Look back across 3.5 billion years of evolution, and you'll find a massive graveyard. 99% of all species are now extinct. The 10 million or so species alive today are the rare survivors of a very long, very harsh planetary history. We call this surviving collection biodiversity, a literal combination of biological life and variety. It represents the total living wealth of our planet. That wealth operates on 3 distinct levels. It starts at the microscopic level with genetic diversity. Genes are the basic building blocks of life. Even within a single species, slight variations ensure the population breeds healthily. Zoom out and you hit species diversity, the sheer number of different organisms occupying a defined area. Zoom out one more time and you reach ecosystem diversity, the vast variety of habitats like plains, mountains, and rivers that these species form together. This nested architecture provides a highly interdependent support system. Every layer relies on the others to function, creating a robust web that prevents the total collapse of life on Earth. Every species performs a specific job. Some capture and store solar energy. Others decompose organic material or cycle water and nutrients. A high diversity of species means the system has built-in redundancies, giving the ecosystem a much better chance of surviving environmental disasters. There is also a hard economic reality to this system. Biodiversity is actual capital. It provides us with our entire food supply, often called agrobiodiversity, along with the raw materials for cosmetics, construction, and complex pharmaceutical drugs. Each species functions as a unique record of evolutionary history, offering the only path to understanding how life sustains itself across millions of years. This intrinsic right to exist isn't just a biological fact, it's an ethical baseline for how our culture treats the natural world. Humanity operates entirely at the mercy of this complex biological machine. Yet, our rapid global expansion has triggered an era of disastrous decline, straining the machine to its breaking point. Earth's biodiversity is not distributed evenly. It is heavily concentrated in the tropics. This equatorial band receives the optimal input of solar energy and water, which creates deep weathering mantles, thick layers of broken-down rock and soil that provide a massive nutrient base for vegetation to thrive. This highlights a severe spatial imbalance. In the area chart, tropical regions occupy only 25% of the total global landmass, but in the pie chart beside it, a staggering 50% of Earth's species are packed into that tiny space. The conflict arises because those exact same tropical regions currently host roughly 75% of the global human population. This geographic overlap forces an unavoidable collision course. Explosive human resource demands are pitted directly against the planet's most fragile and species-rich biomes. As population grows, demand for space and raw materials leads to rampant overexploitation. Massive deforestation clears ancient habitats for agriculture and timber extraction. Humans also introduce secondary pressures. Toxic heavy metals and hydrocarbon pollutants destroy sensitive local flora. We also move organisms across the globe, introducing exotic species, non-native plants and animals that invade and decimate local biotic communities. Certain fauna face direct physical targeting. Merciless poaching for horns, tusks, and hides systematically strips apex predators and keystone animals right out of their environments. To measure the scale of this damage, the International Union of Conservation of Nature, or IUCN, maintains a standardized global tracker known as the Red List. The Red List categorizes plants and animals into 3 threat levels. Rare species naturally have very small populations. Vulnerable species have experienced steep declines and will likely face danger soon. Finally, endangered species face immediate extinction if their environments are not rapidly stabilized. Pushing a species onto the Red List is a localized tragedy, but the effects are broad. Removing pieces of the biological machine causes a cascade of environmental degradation that ultimately threatens our own food chains and climate stability. Because we cannot save every habitat on Earth simultaneously, global conservation relies on a highly targeted spatial strategy. It's a system of ecological triage. The strategy starts by identifying 12 megadiversity centers. These are tropical countries, including Mexico, Brazil, India, and Madagascar, that possess a massive, disproportionate share of the world's species. Within these countries, scientists locate specific ecological hotspots. These are areas chosen specifically for their exceptionally rich endemic vegetation. Plant life dictates the primary productivity of an ecosystem, meaning the plants act as the foundational food and shelter for everything else living there. For example, in the savannas of Madagascar, roughly 85% of the plants and animals, like these towering baobab trees, are endemic, meaning they are found absolutely nowhere else on Earth. Focusing resources on these hotspots maximizes the impact of conservation. By protecting a concentrated vegetation base, we secure the survival chances for the thousands of interdependent species that rely on it. Governments enforce these spatial protections by legally cordoning off land. In India, the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 established strict boundaries for national parks, sanctuaries, and biosphere reserves. But biodiversity loss isn't confined by national borders. Migratory species and global wildlife trade create a crisis no single country can solve alone. This drove 156 nations to the 1992 Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, where they signed the Convention of Biodiversity. The resulting conservation strategy centers on strict directives, track and manage vulnerable populations, legally safeguard breeding habitats, and heavily regulate international wildlife trade. Structural laws and treaties set the boundaries, but long-term survival requires active involvement at the local level. Human culture must integrate sustainable practices on the ground, ensuring our economic development coexists with the living wealth that makes our survival possible.